Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Players NIL podcast. My special guest today, many of you will know him from his athletic accolades and his accomplishments on the field. We're going to try and meet a little bit of Chris Hogan off the field today. Welcome to the podcast, Chris Hogan.
Thanks, Mark.
Well, it's great to have you on, and certainly we don't want to ignore your accomplishments on the field, but the Players NIL is about using athletics to better our lives and to better the lives of the people around us. And I don't know if there's a better example of that than your career and what you've done and what you've accomplished. But let's start off with, I use two words. One is sports and one is athletics. And to me, sports is the fandom part. It's when did you first go to your first game? Who are the teams that you followed? Athletics would be when you took your interest in sports and started to apply it to athletic accomplishments. So let's start with the word sports. Go back to your childhood. Tell me your earliest memories of watching games or listening to games, whatever it was.
Yeah, you know what? My earliest memories were always like my family, my parents used to always do big Super Bowl parties when we were younger. Those are my earliest memories of childhood. We went to a few games. I know I begged my dad to drag me to or take me to a Chicago Bulls game when I was really young. So I did get to see Michael play against the Knicks when we sat way up in the rafters, and it was definitely a school night. But my mom let my dad take me and my brother, and we didn't go to many games as a family. I mean, especially when we started to get into sports, because we were always all over the place. But my earliest memories are, watching those Super Bowl games, with all my, family, friends, whatever they did, they did it up. I mean, they had a blast doing it. The boxes and, all the food and everything. I would like to say that definitely carried on when I started playing football. They got to kind of relive that. But, my dad was big Jets fan. He grew up on Long Island, so we had to torture himself. So obviously, naturally, I was a Giants fan growing up, just to root against them. And then we went to a few Yankees games growing up, and baseball was a huge part of my life when I was younger. And me, my brother, we loved kind of going to games, but I think for us, we enjoyed more of playing and participating and stuff. And that was, that was my love for it. Going and watching games was fun. But my love for sports and for athletics was getting out there and physically doing it.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting you talk about the Jets. So I'm a Long Island guy as well. And in those days, it was Mets, Jets, Nets.
Yeah.
And I tell everyone it's been a long, painful career, but I endure. So if I could ask Chris Hogan when he's 10 years old, what was your favorite sport?
Baseball.
Okay.
100%. Yeah, I loved baseball. I was played baseball really all the way up until my 8th grade year. Going into my freshman year of high school, I hurt my shoulder, and then I kind of made the transition into lacrosse. But I was baseball all the way. I mean, my brother, my dad coached my brother all, growing up, didn't coach me, probably because I wouldn't let him, but we loved baseball, and that was it. I mean, summers, fall, spring. I mean, we were all over the country essentially doing baseball. And I loved it. I loved everything about it.
Yeah. So if it weren't for a shoulder injury, Penn State would have never had a lacrosse player, I suppose.
Yeah. Well, everything happens for a reason, but he did something to do in the springtime. My dad actually played lacrosse, and he had an old stick in the garage, and I picked it up because I wanted something to do in the spring, and the chips fell after that.
Good. I love it. So tell me about some of those lessons. You're playing baseball, you have a setback, right? It had to be devastating to you because that was your dream, maybe to play for the Yankees or something like that, right? And you and Derek Jeter both. And, so now you have to transition to another sport. You're picking up the passion, but some of those life lessons, maybe there was a mentor or coach, some words of wisdom from your dad. Well, go back to those moments that maybe helped shape who you are today.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, it was not being able to play baseball was definitely tough. I mean, especially as a young kid, man. I mean, that's you grow up, those are all my friends, you know. So it's like you grew up playing baseball with the same kids from you were 9 years old, you know, and on. You're on the same teams and you're doing the same stuff. And the shoulder injury for me was, I guess it's tough to compartmentalize that as a 10 or 11-year old or however old I was, but um, it definitely was tough. I think I would like to say that I handled it pretty well as, you know, for as young as I was. And, you know, I kind of definitely focused more onto, all right, like I can focus on football, I can focus on training and all that. And, um, you know, but I needed something to do in the springtime. And like I said, you know, my dad had that lacrosse stick and I just picked it up and he went out in the yard with me and, you know, we started throwing. And for me, doing something new and learning something new and getting to practice a new skill, like that always excited me. Always getting, you know, being able to work on a new skill, being able to master a new sport, like that just ignited that energy. And for me, and lacrosse, I took right to it. I mean, it was physical, eye hand coordination, everything, you know, everything that I wanted to do. And at first it was, okay, this is a great way for me to stay in shape for football, but it quickly became something that I just loved.
Yeah.
And I created a whole new, you know, set of friends who played lacrosse that didn't play baseball. You know, I surrounded myself by, you know, new coaches, you know, you know, people that, you know, I still talk to this day. You know, my high school lacrosse coach that coached me my senior year had a huge influence on my life. You know, the guys that I grew up, you know, who coached me, you know, they cared more about the person and the man than the athlete. And, you know, they obviously pushed you to be a better athlete, but, you know, they cared about what you were doing off the field and your training and everything that you were doing while you were not participating in a game. And I think that was a huge thing for me, you know, that, you know, definitely helped me become, you know, the athlete, you know, the person that I was today. I mean, my parents were never, they never pushed. Um, you know, they were very much, if you were happy, you know, then they were happy.
Right.
But for me, it was never, I never had to be pushed to want to play sports or to practice or do anything. I mean, I thoroughly enjoy to this day, you know, practicing and doing those things. And, um, you know, the new thing for lacrosse, it was a lot of fun for me. It was challenging, which was probably the most exciting part about it because I didn't walk on the field and I wasn't the best at it. And that in itself was like, okay, I need to be the best. And you know, freshman year, walked on, played high school, and then sophomore year I was on varsity. You know, I just
Yeah.
took it like that seriously and I enjoyed it that much.
Yeah, there's probably a bunch of lessons there for parents that are going to listen to this. You know, number one,
Yeah.
make it fun. Number one, make it fun, right? You know, number two is, you know, make sure that you know, that you have a balance, right? You played lots of sports,
Yeah.
and you had interests off of the field too. What were your interests off of the field in high school? Were you music guy, food guy?
I mean, I was in the jazz band all the way through high school.
Okay,
Played the trumpet. You know, I sports really took up a lot of my life, you know, through high school and obviously into my professional life as well. And um, you know, for me, I think my parents did a really good job of balancing a little bit of, you know, okay, we're going to drive all over the place and send you to these camps, and but you know, there's also going to be a little bit of that, all right, you need like a week long break, you know.
yeah,
So whether I wanted to do it or not, you know, I look back on those times, I think it was helpful to be able to kind of take that week of vacation wherever we went. If we, you know, they put us in the car and drove us down the Hilton Head, and you know, my dad would, you know, take us out golfing, and you know, create more frustrations in me. But those are the time. I mean, I remember going to Hilton Head playing golf with him, and we weren't into golf when we were younger. My dad loved it. I just remember being frustrated for 4 hours, but I remember that, and it was, those moments are fun. And I think there's, I see so much of younger kids today, and they're, either doing one sport or maybe two sports, and it's all year long. But, my advice and my message is to, you know, do everything that you can. Be surround yourself by different athletes, different coaches, and all of those things. Maybe at the time you don't think that they kind of carry over or translate into your other sports, but they do. I mean, I lacrosse gave me everything and prepared me even more for football, and football vice versa. And if there was another sport that I was going to play, it probably would translate as well. And I learned a lot of, different lessons in how to practice and how to prepare, and from a number of different coaches. So it wasn't just playing one sport that really got me to where I was at. I really think that, playing all those sports and exposing myself to, different levels of competition and different players, that's what prepared me. That's what drove me,
Yeah.
and, it's, I think, there's definitely, you got to weigh your pros and cons and what you're doing, just playing one sport versus as many. And, I get why a lot of kids want to play one sport. I mean, they want to go play college ball. I mean, I get that, right? But, I also believe that, I mean, if you're good enough, they'll find you. And I think you kind of have to trust in that process a little bit.
Yeah. So, at what point did you realize that you could use athletics to go to college and maybe go to a bigger school than you ever dreamt of? What was there, a
Yeah,
moment or a season?
I think it was definitely my sophomore year of high school. Um, you know, Football season came around. Didn't play a lot of varsity, but then I had a breakout game in the state championship, and then leading up into my sophomore year. I mean, into my sophomore year, going into lacrosse, I played on the varsity team, and that kind of transitioned into the summer, and playing on an all-star team, and you started to
This I don't think you
get
want.
some of that interest from college coaches at these tournaments.
Yeah.
And lacrosse, really hadn't crossed my mind as my you know door to college, but it quickly, I was being noticed. And then my early into my junior year, right away, you start getting the letters,
Yeah.
from football programs. And it was pretty apparent to me that this was going to be a way for me to get into college.
Yeah.
And that was exciting for me, to I was always a good student, but to kind of open more doors into maybe a bigger school, or to a school that I hadn't even thought of. It was definitely an exciting time. That sophomore and junior year of getting letters from coaches, and coaches calling your house or coming to see. I had lacrosse coaches come see me play football, and vice versa. And it was a fun process. Something that too, that my parents really had no idea what was going on.
Yeah.
Had never been through a recruiting process, so it was all new to them. So I think we all kind of just took it one day at a time, and
Yeah.
probably would have liked to enjoy the process and take a few more official visits, but you know that's all right. I think I ended up where I needed to be.
Well, that's a conversation for the next time. So you used
Yeah,
athletics to better your life. You get to college. Obviously, you used athletics to have an amazing professional career, two-time Super Bowl champ, all kinds of accolades, played with probably the greatest player ever and probably the greatest coach ever.
yeah,
But now it's over. Now it's over, and so tell us what you're working on. Tell us a little bit about your business life, some of the things you're passionate about, and some
yeah.
of the ways you're giving back to people in your community.
Yeah, so obviously I'm newly retired. So the transition for me from football to being a full-time dad and husband and everything has been It's been fun. I mean, obviously everything comes with its challenges, and obviously, being home for the first time this summer has been. I've enjoyed the process, but throughout my career, I really started to take an interest in being able to you use my brand and the things that my likeness that I was able to create during my time of playing football, and to do things that I was passionate about or that I was interested in. So, during my time, I got into a sunglass company, at Tomahawk Shades. They're local on Long Island. And, I got in a part of their business, and, using their brand and my brand to, promote that business. And, my newest venture is the gym facility that we just opened up. Um, I sat for many, long time. And even while I was playing, it's like, what am I going to do when I'm done playing football? Because obviously the career that I had, it has an expiration date. I knew that. I didn't think about it very often, up until the latter part of my career. But, I was trying to figure out what Chris Hogan, the not football player, is going to be passionate about, like that he wants to do every single day. And, I had a bunch of different ideas. And, I was talking to one of my best friends, and also a partner of mine, who runs Today's Business. It's a social marketing, digital marketing firm. And we came up with this idea of creating this one-stop shop facility, for kids, for athletes, for adults, for anybody. And partnered with a guy out here, who I was training with, and we partnered with a physical therapist, and we have the social marketing aspect covered. And we've started to create this space, for people, for athletes, for high school kids, young kids to come, that we're going to offer the training, the physical therapy, the recovery, the nutrition. And I just thought, when I was growing up, or when we were growing up, we had to go to 10 different spots to go to physical therapy, which really wasn't prevalent when we played, but now it's such a big part of recovery. And recovery for me was very important during my career, and I wanted to give kids the opportunity to be able to use some of these things, like saunas or a cold plunge, or Normatec boots, which kind of like are flushing, and put a physical therapist there in front of them to help them with an injury or something, whether it's, or even it's just mobility, something to help them, stuff that I didn't have growing up, um, and that no one really told me to do. But I wanted to give kids and give the athletes the ability and the opportunity to use all of these different things to get them to where they want to go. If they want to play college sports, this is what you have to be doing. If you want to take it to the next level, like, you have to be doing this plus, more, and,
Yeah.
so it's been exciting. I've been, we've been, kind of working on this product here, and we're near finished. A couple of different things that we have to kind of get done, but we're almost open, and we're pretty excited about it.
What's the name of the gym?
Evolution PT and Fitness. So Evolution, Long Island.
Okay, nice. Well,
Yep.
it's great, and it's a great way to give back and to share. And I'm sure that, I know what it's like when a young kid walks in and sees somebody that they've seen on television, their eyes get big. And I know that you take
Yeah.
that you take that responsibility seriously. So I'm sure you're going to give them great leadership and advice. But here's the last part of the conversation. That is the advice part. So these are the sound bites, Chris, that we're going to promote you with.
Sure.
Promote this podcast. And so, name, image, and likeness, NIL. You lived it for your professional career.
Yep.
Didn't have the opportunity in college, but kids do today. In fact, many states, including New York, are allowed to start to explore NIL opportunities in high school. So, marketing, branding, messaging, audience. Give us some words of wisdom and some tidbits to Chris Hogan, 18 years old, Chris Hogan, 16, Chris Hogan, 21 in college. What'd you learn? Make us smarter, okay?
So talking through this whole NIL thing, um, when I was first started in the league, I was approached by all these different brands to kind of do all this promotion stuff, and I didn't want to hear it. I was focused on one thing and one thing only, right? And that was to make a football team. What I would have told my 25-year-old self would be to take a second and think about the brand that you are working so hard to get to. This could be a part of it. And, I would have told my, self 10 years ago to, use these things, to promote your brand, to, posting on social media. I thought was like the worst thing ever because people didn't think I was working out or training or didn't want to be there. But, going into, when I was younger, these things, it's for me, education is the biggest part of it. And knowing, the type of brands that you want to work with, not necessarily the brands that reach out to you. I think that's a huge thing. I mean, yeah, it's great if someone comes to you and they want you to promote their stuff, but if you don't really care about it or you don't have an interest in it, you know, how much effort and how much time are you really going to dedicate to putting into these brands? And I think the biggest thing, if I was to tell my 18, 20-year-old college self is to, go work with the brands and go work with the people that you want to be a part of, that you want to be associated with. Because at the end of the day, that's also going to be a part of your brand. And if you're promoting stuff that you don't necessarily believe in or really are going to, kind of carry out and take the time to promote, then what kind of brand are you actually creating for yourself? So if I was to tell my 18-year-old self to go work with different brands, I mean, my brands would have been directly between sports, nutrition, um all the different lacrosse, the brands, there's so many different lacrosse brands. Like go after those. Go back home, the people that you used to, that you played sports with. And if they, obviously a great friend of mine is great family friend of ours, and we've driven Chevy cars for probably 25 years because he was a huge part of our life and my dad's life. And go to him, work with him, guys that you're familiar with, and that and if you're not familiar with them, educate yourself and meet them. And don't just, I think, throwing a couple $100 at an 18-year-old that would have been a lot of money for me, in college. And I think it's very important to not necessarily look at the dollar sign, but to educate yourself on what you're doing for these brands and what they're asking you to do. And really, I think at the end of the day, you really have to care about what you're promoting and what kind of brand you're trying to promote yourself.
Yeah. Well, great lessons and great wisdom. And, I want to thank you for your time today. And I know you're getting ready to open a business, and I know what it's like to do all those things. And sounds like there's a lot of people running around behind you, but
it's constant chaos here. So for right now, but chaos is great.
Good. Well, the Players NIL appreciates your time. We appreciate your advice and your words of wisdom. And certainly we wish you well, and we wish you and your family well in post career. And thank you for being my guest today.
Oh, thanks, Mark.